What's up, everybody? Welcome to At Bet Parks Presents episode 25 of Stick to Hockey Live. This freaking camera, I stepped on my camera and I broke it. The little stand that goes on top. So I have to mount it now on my shelf. And I hate where it is, but I'll get a new one. Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Russ Cohen at Sportsology on Twitter, sportsology.com, is going to join us in a moment. And there's a really interesting debate going on Flyers Twitter right now about franchise goaltending, in the sense that you don't need a franchise goalie to win cups. So therefore it's more incumbent upon the Flyers to trade maybe their most valuable piece at this time to rebuild in Carter Hart. We'll talk about that and tons more. But let me tell you about Bet Parks. Great time to get on the Bet Parks app. Enjoy all the great stuff you can gamble on, like World Cup. Also, obviously, college and pro football, college and pro hoops, you name it. If it's going on in the world of sport, or even beyond sport, frankly, you can gamble on it. And the Bet Parks app is a fantastic forum to do it. It's easy to use, fast to use, quicker to win than ever before. Easy deposit methods, fast payouts, you name it. It's all there for you. And you're going to find it simple to navigate. Live in-game betting, same-game parlays, player performances, futures, your standard teasers, parlays, straight bets. It's all there for you. So check it out. And right now, all new and existing users can get a free bet for up to $750 by using the promo code JASON750. That's a risk-free bet up to $750. Just use that promo code JASON750. Terms and conditions do apply. So download the Bet Parks app today. You do need to be over 21, present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, great weekend, great time of year. The holiday time of year, month of December, great time to visit Subaru, Conquerville Subaru, for the Share the Love event. It began back on November 17th, goes through January 3rd. And Subaru, here's the deal. They'll donate $250 for every new car sold to one of 5 charities, and you get to pick the charity. So it could be the ASPCA, it could be Make-A-Wish, Meals on Wheels, Nations Parks, or Conquerville's hometown charity, which is a great one as well, Namor's Children's Hospital of Delaware. I can't think of a better one to donate than that. December rather, great time to visit the beautiful showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Oh, it is fantastic. And you can check out the certified pre-owned inventory from a list of incoming Subaru vehicles. And it's more than just a dealership. It's a great service department as well, with a free car wash with every visit. So visit ConquervilleSubaru.com. You can check out all the details there. Visit the showroom this weekend on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember that Conquerville cares. All right, let's get to the man right now. You read his work online at sportsology.com. You follow him on Twitter. And if you don't, you better. Sportsology at Sportsology. It's a man they call Russ Cohen, as we are getting spammed right now in my comments section by porn site after porn site.
Well, if you're going to get spammed, here, buy my book. I'll tell you how.
That's not spam.
I know.
That's useful.
Okay.
All right, so I just blocked all the porn sites from streaming in my comment section because they seem to do that. That's when you know I think the show's gotten to a different level, because all of a sudden I'm getting spammed by porn sites.
Yep. It happens.
I've made it, Mama.
You've made it.
What's going on? How's everything?
Things are good. Yeah, this is a great time of the year. Heavy working on the prospect stuff, doing a fair amount of Flyers coverage, league coverage. I'll be at the Winter Classic. So
WJC coming?
Is what?
World Juniors is not that far
World
off.
Juniors is coming. Camp will open up soon. So great time of the year.
Russ, I imagine that World Juniors this year, with this draft class coming, is going to be even, especially like in a city like Philadelphia, people that are, or Chicago, teams that are vying for high-end talent. This World Juniors could be rated higher in those markets than it's ever been, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know how. Honestly, I don't know how the NHL Network really breaks down their ratings. For that, I'm not sure if they do it by city, because the feed is coming from Canada. But I do agree that people in those areas are going to watch a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot more intrigue.
There'll be a lot more experts online, too.
Well, there always is. That's our world today.
Yes.
Everybody's got a voice in a social media world. So, hey, part of the deal. what is it? Till Evan this stuff. Yeah, especially with the porn. Somebody just texted me. But anyway,
Uh,
um, there's the debate going on this morning. I didn't even plan on talking about this or talking to you about this, but you're a great person to talk about it. And we're going to get into some prospects and draft stuff too, which
okay.
is your wheelhouse. But
Mhm.
Raider Frank texted me this morning and about a tweet that he put out, and he tagged me. He pulled me into this web just when I thought I was out. They pulled me back in, right? And he says, apparently goaltending is a bit overrated. Jason Mert, thoughts? Because this guy, whose name is Rich Nixon 2666, is saying that, hey, forget right-handed D. They need everything except maybe right wing. So whatever the highest value you get in prospects and picks, I'd trade Hart in a flash. I know some don't. Some want to build from the net out, but I'd like to hear what team has done that and won a cup in the cap era. Then he went on to say, goaltending is overrated. You don't need a franchise goalie, if Hart is that, to win cups. It's easier to go out and get a good enough goalie for a contending team than it is to get, say, two pieces of high-end, cost-controlled skater talent that make you a contending team. So that's what he said. I'll get into my responses in a minute. But first and foremost, Russ, there's 2 points there. It may be easier to go out and find a goaltender, but when you look at the Flyers organization, apparently it hasn't been, because
No,
that is what cost them in 4 of the 6 finals they've been to since winning the cup. And that's number one. And number two, yeah, it may be easier to go out and find a goaltender, but how has this worked out for Edmonton? How has this worked out for Toronto? Who I would say between those two teams, they have 4 of the 5 best players on the planet Earth right now, each team with 2, and neither team has won a cup. Only one team's won a couple rounds of the playoffs, and that's Edmonton.
yeah, it's crazy. I would say this. A couple of weeks ago, we had Chris Turian on Locked On Flyers podcast that I do, and we talked about goaltending. And I said their big fatal flaw to me back in his day was they didn't get Mike Richter when Richter was actually available. They took John Van Beesbrook, who was a little bit older and definitely cheaper. And now, again, to be able to get a guy like Richter on the open market would have been a coup. It never happened. Nashville actually drafted him in the expansion draft, and then he ended up back on the Rangers anyhow. So, end of the day, it's been hard for teams. Most teams do build from the net out. You do get that rare occasion where there's a guy like a Corey Crawford who's on a super team that can,
Crawford is good, though. He is so underrated. I think he's underrated, Russ, because that team won a cup with Antti Niemi first.
Yes, that's the issue. That is the issue. But I'll tell you, like, as an example, if we go back in 2003, the Penguins, remember, traded up to get Marc-Andre Fleury, right? They traded up to get him, and they got him, and he was their franchise goalie, and they won a cup with him. And then, Murray, you could still argue that there was a time where he definitely was a franchise goalie. Now maybe he's fallen off a little bit because of all different reasons, but he's having a pretty good year this year. So, if you're going to count Murray as the non-franchise guy, he was another guy they drafted. So and I have to count him in, in the plan of building from the goal out. So you go to New Jersey with Brodeur, you go to Tampa with Vasilevsky. Like, tell me who's not doing it. Bennington with St. Louis. Like, most of them are doing that. The problem is
you need elite goaltending to win.
Yeah. The thing about Carter Hart is if he's not on board with whatever the Flyers are doing, then yes, you have to trade him because he's got one more year, one more RFA year. So 2 more years of contract. So that is a thing but just as far as play, there's no reason not to keep Carter Hart and sign him long term. If he wants to stay there, and even if he has to sit through a 2-year rebuild, fine. Maybe even a 3-year rebuild, if he's willing to do that. But if he's not, okay, then you let him go. But as far as play goes, look, I like Felix Sandstrom. I like Sam Urson. We won't know for like 2 more years if they'll ever reach the level Carter Hart has reached.
Yeah.
And, that's the gamble. Would I gamble if Carter Hart wants to stay there and letting him go? No. I would sign him long-term and let him live through whatever the bad times are because he'll be there for the good times, and that's when I want to win. And so, again, he's young enough that he can deal with that and still really, because goalies play a lot longer now anyhow. There's no way I trade him if I have a choice.
Yeah, and look, I don't think anybody on the team with where they are, A, right now, and B, where they've been the last 2 years, is untouchable. They don't own a
Sure.
player, to me, that can carry that tag. Now there's untouchable players in sports, but there's also players I'm not looking to move. There's some guys there's gonna be guys that Torts goes, "Hey, this guy's not I can't move forward with this guy," or "This guy's not what I'm
Right.
trying to build, and we need to move him." And then there's gonna be other players who are gonna go, "Yeah, I could go either way. If you can get something, if you can get me this for him, then I'll do it." And then there's some players who go, "I re unless you blow me away with a return, I can't I am not looking to move this guy. I'm not making phone calls to inquire about his value or anything," and that's where I am with Hart. There's
Well, that's how
some
people
guys.
are with like cars that they have, like collector cars, right? They're like, look, I
Yep.
put a lot of time and effort into this, and they did with Hart. It cost millions to really get a goalie like that going. And so they put in all the time, effort, development, all that. So they don't want to get rid of him. And yeah, I mean, that's how it is if you have a red Corvette that you fixed up, shined up, whatever. But then if a guy walks up and says, I'll give you double what you think it's worth, then you know what? You're probably selling it.
Yeah. Yeah, they make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah,
And here's the thing too, I think it's hard to judge a rebuild when things start moving in the right direction if you don't have goaltending.
I
Because
agree because that's a big thing.
yeah.
You could see it sinking the best of teams, like you said with the Edmonton Oilers. I mean,
Mhm.
they should be winning a lot more. Jack Campbell has not started off well.
Yeah, I think
Stuart
that was a
Skinner is a
bad
good
signing.
goalie, but he's young, so you don't know what he'll do over a long season if you make him the number one. And again, it's derailing a very talented team with
Yeah.
some of the best players on the planet, as you termed it with the Leafs. Leafs, same thing. I don't know if what they have is going to win it for them. They only have short-term deals there. So if it doesn't happen, it could cost Kyle Dubas' job.
Yeah.
But as far as the Leafs drafting a goalie, name me the last good one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, drafting and projecting out what a goaltender's gonna be at 18 draft eligible year
It's
is
hard.
really tough. It's probably one of the voodoo sciences of sport.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the goaltender to me is very similar to the quarterback in football. If you have one and you can check that box, it's a lot easier to build out the other positions because there's one net.
Right.
You're not carrying 4 goaltenders that all play in a game, like 4 centers or, 8 wingers or 6D. There's one net. It's too important. And when you have it, and he's 24, it's not like if he was 28, 27
That's a
even,
different
whole
story.
different conversation.
Now, if he's smart, he might say, okay, you know what? I'll sign a 4-year deal, kind of like a wait and see. We'll see what you guys turn into kind of thing.
Yep.
And he might do that.
That's exactly what I would do, Russ.
And that's what I'll sign him to that.
Mhm. It gives him the opportunity where he's young enough after to hit a grand salami in free agency if he ends up going that route too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so to me, there is no point in getting rid of him unless somebody does come with an offer that includes a goalie that you think is good and could start for your team for a lot of years.
Yeah,
But
but why would they
also,
do that? Why would they trade for Hart if they're trading a goalie that is good
well,
enough that
because
could start?
they don't believe in this goalie or his contract is up and you could sign him. Like,
Yeah.
there's a host of reasons. But I'm just saying, or he's a young goalie that just hasn't fully developed yet. Like, let's say Spencer Knight was kind of like 3 years ago and Bob was still great. Then maybe Florida would
Yeah.
have traded him. But that kind of thing.
Yeah, or maybe there's redundancy like that
Yeah.
with Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight, which I didn't
Yeah.
think made a lot of sense to begin with. This guy Rich Nixon also said,
Richard Nixon.
yeah, Dick Nixon. This is the guy that is debating it and bringing it out. He said, they need to draft and develop better at every position. Free agency is hardly ever a solution. And he says, my gut says you're more likely to have a broken/regressed heart by the time the rest of the team is good if you can't keep asking him to stop 37 shots on 60 times a year for the next 5 years. To which I responded, yet his record is best. when he sees 36 or more shots per game. Shot totals don't matter.
No, I mean,
So
we all
dumb.
worried about that with Henrik Lundqvist, and it was his heart that did him in. Henrik Lundqvist faced a crapload of shots every
Mhm.
year, all the time, especially when Torts was his coach, and they thought playing in their end was a good thing. So, again, he had faced it all and international play, Olympics and otherwise. He had a lot of mileage on him, and I was worried about the mileage, and the mileage isn't even what did him in.
Yeah.
So I
It's
don't
not like hits on a quarterback are cumulative
right,
and shots are cumulative. Goaltenders love high volume shot games.
they do.
You know what goaltenders hate? 22 shots in a game.
Yeah.
They hate that. You think Vasilevsky liked that second period last night
No,
where he saw 2 shots in 5 attempts?
yeah, no,
No, you don't even feel like you're in the game when
yeah.
that happens, and you're not saving anything.
It was like he had the night off at that point.
Yeah, he essentially did until the third period where they get 11 shots and get 1 goal on them, but the game was already over at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So, I agree with you. Again, I'm not looking to trade Carter Hart. Nobody's untouchable.
No,
I mean, if Edmonton calls and says, "We want Hart and we'll give you McDavid," I'm a fool to say no.
right.
A fool. But this notion of that he's gonna be broken down, and I mean, have you watched the guy? I mean, he came back this year after 2 miserable years and found a way to park those prior years and, put himself he's played really well
Yeah.
despite maybe I mean, even the numbers. I thought he played well last year, even though the numbers are a bit sideways, considering everything what's in front of him.
Well, I mean, let's say Edmonton said to you, Ken Holland's calling you, and he's like, "Look, I got to win a cup now. I'll trade you Evan Bouchard and Stuart Skinner for Carter Hart." Then you have to think about it.
Mhm. Well, maybe when they play Detroit, we can ask Kenny that in the press dining room. He's one of the only GMs that comes down and eats in the press dining room.
Yeah, but you mean Edmonton?
Yeah, Edmonton, rather. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, he
Detroit.
does.
Detroit for
And he's
years.
very approachable. And sure, you might as well ask him.
Yeah. It would be interesting because, I mean, goaltending, you have Mike Smith and Koskinen,
Yeah,
and
he
that's not.
needs a goalie like Carter Hart for one season to see if he can win a cup. So
Yeah.
he would be a guy that could overpay, and Hart's from the area. Like, people love him out there.
Yeah. And I don't know that Hart being from the area is a great thing to send them to either.
That's true.
You
Sometimes
know,
it's
I,
good, sometimes it's not.
yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to separate the two. You know, you go back there, that's where you live and are loved. When you go back there and live and fail, if you don't succeed there, now all of a sudden the love of hometown turns into a bit of misery in a hometown.
Well, I mean, you won at the link in the outdoor game. I mean, you played okay in front of your home
I was
crowd,
sick. I was terrible.
but you won the game. You
Did we?
did have
I didn't
moments.
even know. So we beat the Pens 1-0. Okay, we got a streak going. We need to play outdoors again. I've had enough of the outdoor games, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
From a broadcasting standpoint.
Oh no, you froze. I remember that.
Oh, that one was like rain,
Yeah.
but the one in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field was
Oh yeah.
holy God, that was miserable.
Yeah. I mean, I get to be up in the press box and
Yeah,
walk
you're up there.
outside occasionally. It's a whole
Yeah,
different.
you're up there sipping tea with a little bit of some toast. I'm
Yeah.
down there freezing my bag off on the
Yeah.
glass. But anyway, so Russ, the team is now 0-8-3 in their last 11. They broke the skid with a really good game, full value, I thought, against the Islanders in that second game. They didn't back into a win. They didn't put themselves in a position where, I thought they dictated the terms in that game, played really well, really structured, and they were able to finish it. And I didn't think it was a mistake that Scott Lawton was back in the game that they were able to finish, because closing a game out, you need calm veterans to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the team from a structural standpoint and the result take out of it, and considering the injuries, what have you thought of their play really in this 11 games?
So, like the Islander game, like we know the Islanders struggle for goals, but the Flyers did play a really good defensive game. And that was a point, because I kept trying to tell people all throughout this 11 games, they're like, "Russ, you're too hard on this team. They're not good." And I'm like, that doesn't mean their defense can't be good. If they get outscored, they get outscored, which they're getting outscored in most games anyhow. but the defense is intact. There's no excuses. Ryan Ellis has been gone for so long now that their defense is intact. So if they can't win with the defense, that's a whole other story. But the idea is they should have played better. And in the Islander game, they proved they could. Now, at other times, and especially like in this Tampa game, there are massive breakdowns here that, again, I can't just simply blame on personnel. I have to blame some on coaching too. So, as an example, for last night, when I want to say it was the first power play goal for Tampa, and who scored the 2 goals last night? Nick Paul.
Yeah, Nick Paul. Yep.
Nick Paul walked in while they were playing the box, and Nick Paul walked in and got the first goal. Like, Nick Paul is a big, tough guy. If you give him extra room in the slot, he's going to take it and score every time.
Yeah.
So then Nick Paul saw that and figured he could do it again later in the game, 5-on-5, and he did. So the fact that they haven't been able to get guys out of the crease, just in the few gamers that I've had to write recently for Philly Hockey Now, I have written about how the other teams have owned the crease area on the Flyers. They're getting in there, man. They're crashing Carter Hart all the time. He's getting so many high danger chances. It's not even funny. So I can blame that partly on personnel, but I do have to blame that somewhat on structure too. Because again, you put out guys that you think can do this. Now, late in games in that 11-game streak, I understand Zach McEwen's stick broke, but why was he out there? Why was he out there?
Yeah.
Can you give me a good reason against the Canadians, right? The 1.9 seconds?
Yep. Yeah, the Caulfield goal.
Yeah. Why was he out there? So there's things like that where you say, okay, they may not have the personnel to be a playoff team, but 24 games in, it's a little frustrating that they can't figure out the personnel to at least have out there at the right times. Because they haven't even figured that out.
McEwen's out there, though, because they're out of options. You know what I mean?
They have other players that they can put, like, I don't even know if Noah Cates was on the ice for that. Noah Cates is a really good defensive forward.
Yeah, he's in those last minute pretty much every time. Noah Cates, Lawton have been guys that have been out there in that situation the most from a forward perspective.
I mean, I would rather even see Lisinski if he played that game. Somebody like that who's he's decently responsible. I mean, Zach McEwen's not the guy to have out there. He's not even a guy that controls.
Zach McEwen's played on the power play. I mean, I don't think he's played on the power play since he was in Pee Wee.
Right. I mean, again, so Travis Sanheim, right? When there were all these injuries to players, you couldn't put 2 defensemen up on the power play and let Travis Sanheim be on the power play?
Yeah.
Why? With the power play, one of the reasons I believe Owen Tippett's gone cold, you have him on his opposite side. All he could shoot is a wrist shot on the power play. He can't even shoot a one-timer. He needs to be able to shoot his one-timer. That's his calling card. His wrist shot is not his calling card. It's his
I'm fine with him on the off wing, 5-on-5.
Yeah, but not on the
power play. He's a trigger, and I agree with you. Yes. He needs to be in a trigger position.
He's got to be the guy handling the puck.
Yeah, I mean, you put a guy on his off wing on the power play, it's as a facilitator, so he can see the ice open more and have a stick in the middle of the ice.
He's not the guy for that.
No, he's not the guy for that. I think he's a better passer than I thought, but he's not a facilitator on the power play. Especially couple that when you have your main facilitator on the power play as your point man, Tony DeAngelo.
Right.
So I do agree with that. That's a good point that you make. And
I think that's why he's gone cold scoring, because
could be
he's not scoring on the power play,
and his confidence.
Yeah,
you know that scorers and shooters that they just ride waves.
I think
they're always waiting for the next set of waves to come in to ride.
Yeah, I think only by accident they're going to find out that Igor Zamula is a good defenseman and they can trust him. But they're only finding this out by accident.
Why are they finding it out by accident? Because they could keep Braun in the lineup, but they've decided at this point we're going to play him at the NHL level. We're going to let him, go through some tough nights. I don't understand why that's by accident.
Well, during that 11-game streak, how many games did he sit? He sat so many games they had to set him down to play again
because they weren't practicing. Yeah, but they made that decision now that they're going to
but
develop.
They should have made it then. That's my point. You asked me about the 11 games. During that 11 games, he should have been playing.
Yeah, especially when you have so many games congested, you can get fresher legs in there too.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of these decisions, some of them are coming late in the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you know, I've seen the
he had a
coach.
really rough night last night. I
Yeah.
thought. Um, I thought he was good the other day, but I thought he was really rough last night.
Who was that?
But
Zamula?
yeah,
I
I
thought he
thought
was good early. I think everybody was rough late. I thought early
yeah.
his passing was good and his skating was good, but I
Mhm.
think everybody it was rough late. I do.
Well, yeah, Tampa just dominated
Yeah.
in the
It
second
was like a
period.
master class on puck possession.
It was. I mean, the one shift, Risto was out there for 4:02. 4 minutes and 2 and he couldn't get off. He's the right D in the
Yeah,
second period, furthest from the bench, and he just couldn't. I mean, Provorov was out there for 3:40 something on that
yeah.
shift. He was able to get off at some point, but Risto was out there for 4:02. And, the crazy thing is, with Zamula, we hear and you see it on social media all the time, play the kids. But then people were bitching up and down at how he looked overwhelmed. If you want if you want kids to develop at the NHL level, don't say play the kids, and then bitch when they make mistakes.
Correct. You can't do both.
You can't do both. It's also the people that say tear it down and then complain that the team, it looks like a not NHL team. That's what it's going to
Right.
look like.
Yes.
That's why I say so often, Russ, that I think most people say they can handle a tear down rebuild, but they can't live a tear down rebuild.
No, that's true. I mean, look, Ranger fans got off easy because Fox wanted to go there, Panarin wanted to go there.
Yep.
Some other things happened. You know, you got
Sturkin was coming.
Lafreniere, you got Kako. These things helped. It helped things along. They didn't really have to hurt for as long as like the Leafs fans did. So I agree with you. I think a lot of people would get fed up. Still doesn't mean it shouldn't have happened. It should have started last year, so it wouldn't have. See, the problem is it didn't start last year at the trading deadline. Had it, you'd already be well into it this year, where this year they fought it off and decided that that's not what they're doing. So now next year could be the year they started, or they just try and reset it again and they never start it.
It looks
And
like
so
they've started it now, though, Russ,
maybe.
but maybe not by, their own full buy into that, but
Well, I'll
because
tell you
of
what, I
injury.
don't know if that's entirely true. It's true from the coach's standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true from the GM standpoint, who believes his team is in it, and because they're 5 points out of the plalups.
Yeah,
And I
I
have
don't
to
think he
laugh.
believes that. I think that was he said the wrong thing there, but I don't think he
He
believes
did,
that.
but there have been a few teams scouting a lot recently, especially the Leafs, and I think they're looking because again, Jake Muzzin, they've lost him for the year.
Yep.
Or at least the regular season, but I think for the year and even possibly longer, right? So maybe they're looking at Risto, maybe they're looking at Sealer, maybe they're looking at Braun, but they've been there. It's not like
Maybe they're looking at Provorov and Sanheim.
they could be. They could be. So
They're
my
looking for
point
a
is,
long-term solution because Muzzin's not getting any younger or
but
much
my
healthier.
point is, I think Chuck is going to try and pull the trigger on another trade where maybe he gets a guy with a little more term, he loses some salary, but still says, "Look, this still makes us better," and still plays with that narrative. That's why I don't think they're there yet because the GM and the coach are not doing the same thing.
The availabilities this week of Tortorella on Monday and Wednesday, Monday and yesterday.
Yeah.
Prior to the game yesterday, I thought Torts was incredibly enlightening and transparent. He said basically what Babcock said. There's going to be pain,
Right.
and there's going to be more pain. And then last night after the game, he said, we're going to have another game like this year. Hell, we might have a couple more games like that this year. But no matter how bad it is in the moment, we cannot change the path of what we need to do here. And to me, that's a guy that's going, you may not want to term it rebuild. And he said he doesn't get caught up in labels, but that's a rebuild.
It is. I think he should have said it
play.
earlier. I think saying it 24 games into the season caught people by surprise. It did. It even caught me by surprise, only because he should have said it after, like midway through this losing streak. Like, okay, guys, look, this is, so it's like, so now
he doesn't want to say it though because he's demanding guys play hard, and he doesn't want to.
I know.
He doesn't want to mitigate result from his equation. Because being able to close out games when they're not going to win a lot, they're not. But being able to close out games when you're in position is a good trait to have going forward.
But again, it's not like he is going to teach them that trait. These guys have been in hockey long enough. Like, I guarantee you there are some veterans on this team that have to bite their tongue for some of the things John says at press conferences. I would almost bet
No
money
doubt.
on it
Mhm.
because he's bringing it back to a point where he's kind of like, I got to teach these guys. They have no idea. Like that's what comes off. That's what we hear in the media, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm sure there's some players that are frustrated over that. They do play hard. They didn't play that hard against Tampa. They didn't. And even that first period where John said he was sort of happy, I don't see how he could be because
He was only happy with that period because he put it next to the second period.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
like
And the
going,
other thing,
I I lost an I I lost 3 fingers in the first period, but in the second period, I lost an entire leg.
right.
So, the first period wasn't that bad by
By
comparative
comparison.
purposes.
No, no, that's fair. The other thing he said that John said that drove me crazy was um, in the morning briefing was that guaranteed contracts suck. Well, he has a guaranteed contract. So what the hell is he talking about?
He
Like,
didn't say they suck, he just said you have them, and it's not like the NFL where you can't just
no,
cut
I
a
know
guy
what
on
he's
Monday and he's
saying,
done.
Jason, but like, does he want his contract to be year by year too? Probably
Hell
not.
no. Hell no.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's nice to say, hey, I'd like the players year by year, but not me.
Yeah. Yeah, that can apply to them, but not the guy that's coaching the team.
Right.
'Cause I don't look, coaching is year by year, but you still get paid.
Right. Like in
Yeah.
Vancouver, he got exited very early and he got
Yep.
paid.
Yeah. And we see, I mean, the average tenure I think now is like 2.45 seasons
Right.
for a head coach. Now Torts is, other than Vancouver, has far
Exceeded that.
lasted longer. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
5, 5, and 6, so, I mean,
Yeah, no
he's
question. I mean, look,
an outlier.
he's the guy in power right now. And so he's the guy you really do have to listen to more than Chuck, unfortunately, because that's the way it is. He's going to play the guys he wants to play. And that's the way it's going to work out. In the end, he could, he might have some disagreements with Chuck about this, and I'm sure they do. But in the end, it's up to him. So he's in charge of that. All I want for this season for this team is for players to develop. And I felt like in these first 24 games, Noah Cates didn't need development. Even John admitted it. Like, hey, this guy came from a program where like he knew what to do. He knows what to do out there. But nobody else has really developed yet. And we need to start seeing that. And that's
Cates
what this
needs more
next,
development, though. If they wanna make him a center, then he needs more development.
yeah, sure. But I don't know if that's going to be the case, right? I think when Couturier comes back, then you have Couturier, you have Hayes. You still could always move Lawton to center, and then you wouldn't need Cates at center for now. So I don't think you have to do that. But I do think we need to see more development from other players, meaning you got to play them at the right times. You've got to play them for, not sheltered minutes. You've got to do a lot of other things. Oh, you know what Rich Bradley gave me this stat last night. And the reason why Torch shouldn't have been happy with the first period is because they only had 2 offensive zone faceoffs in the first period last night.
Wow.
So how could you be happy about that?
Again, it's just because you put it next to a
Yeah, I know.
second period where,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and look, I thought Torch was honest after the game when he said
Was.
that second period, he goes, "They had that long shift, and we could never
Right.
grab any element or semblance of any momentum from it."
Right.
That point on, we just could never get their legs under them, and
Which is a little sad in a way because I get it. Tampa's a good team,
yeah.
but they exploited you.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
That's what happened there.
I mean, you had 5 shot attempts in the period, and
Right.
I would say of those 5 shot attempts, maybe 3 of them were legit shot attempts,
Yeah. But here's
and
another thing
2
that
shots on
fans
goal.
yeah, here's another thing fans have been arguing with me about online. They have enough players to have a decent power play. They do. Don't
When
tell me
healthy.
they don't
Yeah.
don't tell me they don't have enough to have a decent power play. Their power play should not be this bad. It should
Yeah.
not.
Special teams in general too.
Right.
It has been really been an undoing of this team when you look at where they not only rank, but
Yeah, they have a
you
failing grade right now for this year for those areas where and again, the worst part is you're playing a team like Tampa, you know how good they are on the power play, and they had the first 3 penalties in the game.
yeah. What have you thought of D'Angelo so far?
It's a mixed
Obviously,
bag.
Russ, he's playing too much.
He
I
is
mean,
playing too
he's
much. No question.
27, 28 minutes in a game is not ideal for Tony
No.
D'Angelo. from a physical standpoint and just
23 to
place.
25 is about right. He's not the biggest guy. You saw that with Wallstrom. He took a beating in that,
Yep.
and that definitely shook him up. I look at it like this. He still needs to shoot a little more on the power play and have a little more accuracy. His passing's been great on the power play. His passing 5-on-5 has been great. He's on the ice for a lot of goals. He is. So if you're going to be on the ice for a lot of goals, he's got to get more points. He doesn't have enough points for me to even call him close to like an elite offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
He's like in the middle of the pack offensive defenseman right now.
Part of the points equation for offensive-minded D, though, is also having some forwards that you can move the puck up the ice to quickly and can score off the rush. They're terrible off the rush. Terrible off the rush.
No, and that's fair. That's not on him.
Yeah.
He can bring up the puck up the ice. But I think on the power play, he controls it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's quarterback.
Yeah. So
everything runs from the top.
And that's on him because he still has Hayes out there. He still has guys who could score on the power play. Konechny's back out there now. I mean, so I think in that regard, he hasn't performed well enough.
What you brought up Hayes. We know the numbers on Hayes this year. I mean, frankly, the numbers on Hayes this year are stunning when you consider the fact that he has been benched for a period. Yeah. He has been, I think he was benched in the Pittsburgh game, partially in that second period, then moved to the fourth line. Yet in 24 games, he's got 8 goals. He's got 16 assists. He's a point per game player. He's averaging a second under 19 minutes a game. And, he's only got 1 power play goal, 6 power play assists. So he's done a lot of his work 5-on-5 here.
Yep.
Is there, one of the things that gets debated is there a trade market for Kevin Hayes right now with 3 years beyond this one and a limited no trade clause? Is there a market for him to be moved?
No, because if he was an effective center, which right now he's not, Noah Cates has been a better center this year than Kevin Hayes. Hayes has been great on the wing, but now you're talking.
I like him on the wing,
but now you're allocating $8.5 million on the wing, right? So that's high end money for the wing. Where for center, it's not high end money. So nobody's going to be willing to bring that in with that much term left for a winger. That's the problem. He needed to be an effective center at that money.
Yeah.
Now he's had a really great year offensively, but for his
capped at 7.1.
7.1. So at 7.1, that's a hefty amount. That's a hefty amount.
But you're right. If the 7.1, I'm not saying he's going to have an 82-point season and be a point per game player.
Right.
But it's 7.1 if you put up 58 to 62 points, that is decent value at the center position, but at the wing position it is different.
Yes. And that's the issue. If he were doing better,
wingers. Learn how to play center, more money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. If he were having a better all-around season, then there might be a market. But right now, no. But he's still very valuable for the Flyers. So Torts is doing the right thing with him. He is. Because look, he doesn't care what he signed for. He doesn't care. Now he will care when, if he ever wants to get him traded and a GM can't. But in right now, he's doing the right thing for him, and he's getting the max offense out of him. Because this is a team that has 50-something goals. They can't score.
Yeah. Lowest scoring team in the entire NHL. I think they're averaging 2.4 goals per game.
I didn't see that part coming. I saw the defense not being great, Carter Hart being run ragged. I didn't see them having this low of an offense.
Yeah. Part of that also is what you're missing.
Sure, but I mean, again, Tippett's still in there. There's guys in there that are not scoring the way they should either.
Yeah. But it is hard. I mean, everything is slotted so weird because guys that are playing top line against the number one shutdown line usually get a much more favorable matchup if you have depth on your team, and they just don't have it. They don't have it.
No, I get that part, right? But you look at a team like the Leafs, and they lost 3 big defensemen and their 2 goalies for a while. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to lose. That's equal to what the Flyers are missing now, and they still were winning games. You
still have Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares.
I get it, but I'm just saying it's still a lot to miss.
Yeah. But look at Columbus, what they're missing, right? They still
Yeah,
have
and I'm not saying the
Gaudreau.
Flyers should be a playoff team. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is they could play better. They could play better. And so Nick Delorier on the third line, why in the world would I have him with Frost and Tippett, who are really good skaters, and Delorier has proven he is not a good skater? Why do I have that line together?
Yeah. I like the Frost, Tippett, and Farabee.
Me too. And
Even
I
though
think Farabee
Farabee
could benefit
fighting
from
it.
that.
Yeah, Farabee's fighting it right now and
Yes.
coming off that neck surgery. I don't know how much of it is that or
Yeah.
adjusting the torch or what.
And that's why I've been kind to Farabee, because not everybody's Jack Eichel. Not everything's going to work
Well, it
out
took
like that.
Eichel 4 months to come back from that too once he started playing again.
Correct.
You know, he wasn't great when he came back, and Eichel's a
No.
great player, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
Last thing, Russ, I know you gotta get going too, and I do as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
But, you know, we do it every year before the season. You know, we make our selections for the different categories of Hart and Norris. I didn't have Erik Karlsson winning the Norris. I don't think
No,
you
I
did
didn't.
either.
Totally fair.
I thought there was a better chance he'd retire midseason than win the Norris, to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
honest with you. But he has got to be the leader in the
He's the
clubhouse.
leader right now. There's no question.
He's a Hart candidate, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said it on another show. If he has a couple more years like this as a resurgence, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I mean, he's always been such a dynamic player, but the
Yeah,
injuries really ran him down. I didn't know that his body could get back to this point.
I didn't either.
It's amazing what he's done. I mean, the numbers are off the charts for
Goals, the amount of goals, like God,
oh,
it's hard.
it's
I think it's a hard thing to do for San Jose to be this bad with a player this good.
I totally agree with you. I do. There's so much that's incumbent upon him,
I know.
and he just, I mean, he just continues to put up points. And I mean, look, maybe he wants out of there. Maybe that's the way he's going to do. I mean, he's
I don't
sixth
know
in
if he does.
scoring in
That's
the
the
league.
thing. I don't know if he does. It's a nice area. He's been to the Cup. I don't know if he does.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's got 11 goals and 21 assists
I know.
already this season in 25 or 26 games. He's got 32 points.
It's outrageous.
That is unbelievable. Meanwhile, McDavid sits at the top with 19 goals and 24
Yeah, but
assists.
don't underestimate what Jason Robertson's done, because
Oh, he's incredible.
but I also had to go back and like tell Flyers fans and fans of other teams, like, I had him ranked a lot higher than others because I just really liked him. I liked his
Mhm.
makeup. I liked his shot. I knew his speed had to be worked on. He could be a power forward. So I put him like 24th. I put him one spot ahead of where I had Nick Suzuki, which, again, Nick Suzuki is a pretty damn good player too.
Very good,
But
yeah.
he got taken a lot earlier, and Robertson got taken later because Robertson was looked at as a little bit of a project. So
Yeah.
that's why teams didn't take him in the first round, and he went like 39th.
And it takes big body players a little longer, I think, Russ,
It
too,
does.
to
It
adjust to
does.
the NHL. I really believe that. And
That's why I give the
Robertson's a big
Stars
boy.
credit. They've done everything right with him. He happens to have a great family. Nick's his brother. Nick hasn't really broken through yet, but he has. That was the thing. So many people talked about Nick. It took all the heat off of off of him,
Yeah.
and he's become a star. And I'm not shocked, but I'm just saying, when you go into a draft, there are reasons why guys sometimes go in the second round, and the herd believes the same thing. And then there are also guys that, like Robertson, that are able to overcome it because, hey, they do more than you think in the offseason. They did a lot with player development in Dallas. You got to give him credit, and he's now exceeded expectations. And good
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been unbelievable. If you're looking at the Vezina, I mean, to me, they're the two guys that are in the conversation for sure, and I think will remain in are Linus Ullmark, playing on a great team. That
Yes.
Boston team, I did not see that coming either.
I saw them making the playoffs, but I did not see him playing like this. No, I thought
Yeah.
they would squeak in.
And I thought those injuries would play a bigger role with Marchand and McAvoy, and
Yeah.
clearly they haven't. But I look at Ullmark and I look at Sorokin, and for all the conversation about Shesterkin and full value last year to win it, and he's great, and he's not off to the greatest start like he
No.
played last year, and the Rangers aren't, but he overshadowed Sorokin, and Sorokin may be just as good as Shesterkin, all said and done. He is unbelievable.
I
The numbers are
pointed
very
out
similar in the K.
Yes. There was a year for World Juniors. Shesterkin had the starting job. Sorokin was the second guy, but it was right there. Shesterkin was the bigger star in the KHL. When he left, Sorokin became the big star. So they've always kind of been there, and Shesterkin's kind of been like an inch ahead of them. That's it. But Sorokin's having the better year this year and definitely could win the Vezina this year. But again, there are goalies that don't win 2 or 3 Vezinas in a row anymore either. That's a rarity. Most of the time, there's
you have to go on a heater within a season too.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an up and down nature to the position. There always has been, and I think now there's even more where it's hard to win multiples in consecutive seasons. So yeah, I think Sorokin's the leader.
Yeah, I agree. Hellebuck's had a good year so
far.
He'll
be the next guy.
Yeah, he's the next one for me. I agree. Russ, this was awesome. What do you got going on sportsology.com? What can people read?
I do want to give 2 names. I'll give 2 prospect names for the draft for fans. Look up Will Smith and Ryan Leonard. Both play for the program. They could be, right around that top 10 or so. I know Flyers fans are hoping they're in the top 5, but you never know how luck is going to be. So, look those guys up. What I have going on is I've been writing for Philly Hockey Now, writing for sportsology.com, but this is book selling season. So people can buy my my Flyers book, Images of Sports. If you want an autograph, DM me.
Who's that on the cover? Hold it closer. Oh, it's okay. BC's on the cover. Nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of behind the scenes shots. Like this is a great shot of Braden Coburn tuning up Brian Boyle. You can see Boyle's face just getting smashed there.
Contorted.
Yeah. So there's a lot of photos a lot of people haven't seen. We detailed a lot of different things that went on with like the 24/7 series when they were in the Winter Classic. Fun stuff like that. At Sportsology, you can DM me. You can get that. And the Winter Classic book, I still have those. And at some point, we'll be updating that. I'll be at the Winter Classic again this year. So if you remember the first Fenway Winter Classic, I don't know if you were at that one.
It was 2010.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. First fight. Remember Carcillo Thornton? That was the first fight in Winter Classic history.
Yeah. Sean Thornton, not Joe Thornton.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I said Joe by mistake. Nice. Yeah, Sean
Thornton. You just said Thornton.
Oh, I just said yes. Okay.
I think a lot of people would assume that would be Joe Jumbo.
Yeah. No, and so that I'm happy to go back to Fenway. I loved it. So anyhow, that's what I'm up to. If you want to help me out, hit me up on Twitter.
Nice. Sportsology.com. That's where Russ's website is, and you can order books there. Also, at Sportsology on Twitter. And great stuff as always, brother. Enjoy the weekend, all right?
Thanks, you too.
There he is, Russ Cohen, stopping by. Bet Parks presents Stick to Hockey Live. Great stuff. Great debate. Great stuff. Again, the Hart stuff, nobody is untouchable in my eyes. Nobody. When your team's in the state that they're in right now, the word untouchable does not exist. But again, I'm not looking to make that deal. It's just not. I don't want to make that deal. And I think he can survive this period between now and when they theoretically should be good. So I'm not looking to create that hole. I'm just not looking to do it. I think the return would obviously be good from a lot of teams for Carter Hart. I mean, I think that's a deal that would take place in the offseason, not in season, but still. Those teams that looking to upgrade their goaltending position, generally speaking, are capped out at this point and can't fit it. And I'm not trading them for same money. I need to get some high-end prospects and picks and some real value. But again, I'm not looking to do it. Let me tell everybody about the Bet Parks app. It's fantastic. Get on it. Bet all the hockey action this weekend. You can bet the World Cup. You can bet college and pro football, college and pro hoops, you name it, you can bet it on the Bet Parks app. So check it out. It's simple to use, live in-game betting, same game parlays. There's player performances, first to score, exact score, rushing yards, over-unders, you name it. It's all there on the Bet Parks app. So check it out. It's easy to use, faster to win than ever before, easy to navigate. So download the Bet Parks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And also visit my friends at Conquerville Subaru. It's what a fantastic place. December's a great time to get down there. And it's the Subaru. They were the first Subaru Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Year winner back in 2015, and they have the Share the Love event going on right now through January 3rd, where Subaru will donate $250 for every new car sold to one of 5 charities you get to pick: ASPCA, Make-A-Wish, Meals on Wheels, Nations Parks, and Conquerville's hometown charity, which is the Namors Children's Hospital of Delaware. So get down there, check out the beautiful showroom, check out the certified pre-owned inventory, list of incoming Subaru vehicles, fantastic cars, fantastic dealership, great service department with a free car wash with every visit. So check them out. ConcordvilleSubaru.com is the website. Visit them on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember that Concordville cares. Great debate on the show today. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you leave us a great 5-star rating and review. That'll help other Flyer fans and hockey fans find this podcast. The only last thing I demand is everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the hockey, and we'll talk to you Monday on a brand new episode of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live.